Hi, this is Summer with Summer's Tips and Stitches, and in this video, I primarily will be talking about this book and a finished project I made out of from this book. And so that will be the bulk of the beginning of the video, but then also I have two other little things I'm going to talk about. One is that granny square baby sweater that I've been making, or granny stitch. And then other is a yarn that I bought. So this book right here, my husband got me for Christmas, is called Enchanted Woodland Amigurumi. And the designer is, and I can't say this gal's name. It's either Erinna or Erinna Lee. I'm not sure how she's pronouncing it. It looks like Erin with an extra NA, which makes me think it's maybe Erinna. Sorry, Miss Lee. And she designs these super cute amigurumis. Now, actually, I already have a different one of her books, Amigurumi Treasures. I haven't made anything out of this book yet. Because I will tell you, initially, I was, now I have a tickle in my throat. I was, what's the word? Scared, apprehensive, intimidated, that's the word, of her patterns, because there is so much detail in these characters or in these dolls. So I spent a lot of time perusing this pattern book to see what I was going to make. Now, I first thought I was going to make the bee. And mostly because I felt like I had a lot of these colors already. I really wanted to not have to go to the store and buy yarn, use what I have in my hoard. And then I also saw this little hedgehog. I'm going to try to find it, which I still might make coming up. Because again, I had similar colors. I can't find the hedgehog. I should have had these pages labeled and ready. Well, anyway, the hedgehog's cute. But I actually decided, after looking at what I had available for yarn and all of that, I decided on this little boy fairy. And I should have that page bookmarked as well. Okay, here's the hedgehog that I decided not to do, which, after doing this little boy fairy, I'm really happy I didn't. So one of my first discouragements in doing these patterns is I want them to look as cute as hers. And so I think part of that has to do with your yarn selection. When you choose the right colors and the right yarn, I do think it makes a big difference. I'm still flipping endlessly, finally found it. I think it makes a big difference in what your finished product looks like. I absolutely think that this amigurumi made straight with red heart might not look as good if it's made with a different yarn. So maybe that's my own hiccup, right? Okay. So after looking through all of the yarn that I have up here, I decided to go through and collect up all the leftover Bella Coco yarn that I have that is like Confection DK. This is when Bella Coco was in the Crochet Society team, and I had a lot of these leftover yarns from the 2 advent calendar blankets, leftover yarn from like when I made Lux the Lion. I actually got a couple extra boxes, so occasionally they'll put extra boxes up. And then there's some months where I just didn't do the project. Yeah, so in this bag right here, which is from, I want to say this gal is Creative Chaos Crochet. She has an Etsy shop. I'll put a link in the description to her. This is all my leftover Crochet Society Confection DK. Now, I have done zero research to find out where I can get this yarn. I'm assuming that now Bella Coco is not with Crochet Society, that they're not using this yarn anymore with her name on it, or maybe they're using the same yarn with a different name, or maybe this is Bella. Like I said, I've done no research. I don't know the situation. That bag is all my full skeins, and this bag here is some of my partials. Okay, so I dug through, and I came out with a color palette, which I mentioned to you guys in a video. And what I did, just to recap a little bit, is I wrote down the color name that she listed in the beginning of the pattern, which I'm going to try to show you without airing everything, right here. And then I looked at the picture and wrote down what she crocheted with that color. So for example, the dusty blue color was used for the hair. And then so I put dusty blue, and then I put hair. And then on this side, I put the color that I was going to use for the hair. That way, when it just made it a little easier for me to lay it all out. And so that is how and then I dug through my Bella Coco colors. I actually for a while was going to use Ice Pop with this doll. But later on, I changed my mind and I switched it out to a gray blue, which I think they call Earl Grey. Okay, so that's the first thing that I did, is I found the kind of yarn that I wanted to do, because I wanted to do it very similar and cute to her. Now, there is a gal in my Facebook group who also watches these videos, and I'm sorry I forgot your name. She posted pictures in our Facebook group of her just choosing her own colors, so free and brave. And it actually really inspired me to do that myself, because I initially was really hung up on getting these specific colors for this guy to do him. And when she posted her own, I was like, you know what, I can do this too. So I did. And this is my finished fairy boy. He's got his little wings back here. He's got shorts. His head is the bane of my existence, and he has a floppy head. And then there's his hair and his hat. So I kind of wanted to talk to you about some of the things I really liked about her patterns and some of the things that I felt like were possibly discouraging. Okay, so let's go about the one thing that I don't like, and then all the good things, right? I don't like the head situation. My first amigurumis were from the Friendly Red Fox, and I like how she does the heads. And that's where she starts from the toe, actually very similar to how this gal starts. And you move up the body, but then when you get to the head, you start decreasing for the neck. Then you stuff the living heck out of that neck. And then you increase to do the head. Well, this gal here, and to be honest, most of the other people, my crochet cute critters, my crocheted animal friends, Too Cute Amigurumi, they all make the body and the head separate, and they want you to sew the head on. And my problem with that is I suck at it. Yeah, that's the problem. And so you're ending up, and I don't know that I have a picture to show you what, oh, you're ending up with this is the body with this hole right here that you're supposed to set the completed head on, and then go to the, I think she tells you very specifically, which I do like, the 29th row, and sew the head there. Now, side note, I really think what you should do when you, maybe all of you are like, Summer, we do that all the time anyway, is read through everything very thoroughly, because at this point I would have marked the 29th row on this little guy's head, so I knew that was the row that I was supposed to attach to the body. But by the time I was done and I finished off, it was really hard to count and where his 29th row is. So his head has this icky spot here, and I do think is kind of floppy. He is not going to be a toy, and it's crooked. You see, like, that's centered, and his head kind of, he's looking to the side. He's like, what's over there? He is not the kind of toy that a little kid could play with, because his head's going to fall off in a minute. Okay, that's truth. Unless, of course, it's a little child that, like, holds the doll like this and is very delicate with it. Okay, so that is the one thing that I don't like about these patterns, and it's my problem mostly, and it just happens that most people do this situation where they leave the body open and you're supposed to sew the head to the body. Okay, now I will say the thing that I really do like about her patterns is when she is describing something, like down here, when she says the back button edge should fall between rounds 24 and 25, she then has a number down here, and she has a corresponding picture to show you what she's talking about. And there's only been a couple times where I'm like, I do not understand what you said with your words. Like when it came to attaching the feet. She does it very similar to how the Friendly Red Fox did it, except for, if you can tell in this picture, the feet are kind of pointed in. Do you see that? And when you look at the doll, is that called pigeon-toed? his feet are kind of like pigeon-toed. And so it was really helpful to have those pictures because I, of course, wanted to line the feet up so they were pointy and straight. And if you want him to be pigeon-toed, you have to follow these instructions. And so it was very nice. On every page, she has these very clear pictures to go with to show you how things should be done. Also, her patterns primarily consist of stitches that I am not afraid of, right? So they're all basic. And I think she has a lot of detail, still adding with the fact that some of the detail is done with a slip stitch. The hardest stitch, which I have learned already, but still gives me a little bit of a fear sometimes, is the picot. And she does have a picot, which I don't know if I did it right, on his sleeves. And so, look at that. Look at that. So he has these cute little cuffs on his sleeves, but then they also have these little picots on it, which gives it a little bit of extra detail, which is really nice. And then the last thing I was going to say was that I really liked about this is she does give you options. So for instance, when it comes to the shorts, I actually knew how to do this technique because of Crochet Society. In our last blanket, not this year because I was in hospital this year, but the year before, they had tapestry crochet. Or was it the first year I did it? I don't remember. But anyway, she has this little chart and she explains to you how to do it. And I did do it. And it's a matter of carrying the yarn underneath. As you can see right here, I have a little mistake. You can see the blue through there. And changing colors. And it's the way to change the color, the way to carry the yarn through. Look at that. I have another one poking through. And you can create these shorts with her little tapestry directions, which are super cute. But she also gives in here the option if, hey, you know what, if you can't do tapestry crochet or if you don't understand these, just go ahead and choose one color and do the shorts in a color. So she does have the advanced techniques in there, but then she also has options in there for someone who is, sorry you guys, who is not intermediate to advanced. And then the other thing is she's like, you can sew the shorts on, or you can just, you know, have them wear it on. So she gives you options. That's the third thing I really like about her patterns. This is the color profile that I chose for my little guy. One of the sad things is I did run out of hair. Yeah, right over here, the poor guy is bald. Did you see that? So, and by the time I got down here, I realized that I had... he's got a little bit of a side shave. I was like, forget that, because I would have had to pull all the way off to go down. So my advice, she has you start at the crown, and I'm going to tell you, in order to get the hair to even just be bald just in this little spot, I had to do a couple things. So if I were to do it all over again, I would have started at the base, the part that you see the most, because when he's wearing his hat, you can't see that part, but you can see the bald part. So I would have started at the base and worked my way up to the crown if I could have done it all over again. So that's the first thing I would have done different. The other thing that I had to do in order to play yarn chicken is she has you do his hair in these little loopies that are in the size 10 or 10 chains. So you chain 10 and then you go back and single crochet in the next stitch, and then you chain 10 and you go on. By the time that I was down here, I was only chaining 8. Every once in a while down by the front, in order to give him that like little bang look, I did do 10 here because I wanted him to look long and curly. But in the rest of the hair, I did 8 or 9 to kind of save some yarn. And then also I ended up switching to a smaller hook partway through. I don't think you can really tell that his hair isn't as consistent as hers in the book, but like I said, by the time, and this took me a full day of crocheting, one full day, not obviously 12 hours, but I'd come down, crochet for a while, I'd go make lunch for Flynn, take his pills, come back down, crochet for a while, I would crochet while he was doing his homework, and so on and off for a couple, I would say minimum 4 hours it took me to do this, because it is so much crocheting, which is why I am not looking forward to doing the hedgehog, even though it's super cute, because that's a lot of this. But it is a really cute look. And what I do love about the hair is that it's like this little kid has a wig. You make his head in your flesh tone, whatever tone you decide to do that in, and then you make him like a little hat, and then you attach the hair to the hat, and then you sew that to his head. And that way, it was really, to me, an easier way of attaching the hair. Okay. Yeah, I think that is all I kind of wanted to say about this. I do really love the detail and how there's detail on everything, from the collar to the shirt to the wrists to the rounds, extra rounds on his pants. There's even extra rounds here on his boots that you can't really see. I don't like that he's pigeon-toed, but that's why she wanted it. Even his hat, which I also did not sew the end in, has detailing. Now his hat is quite a bit bigger, I think. It's probably because of my tension. If I were to make this little boy again, I would go down a hook size for his hat, because his hat is very big, and I ended up having to fold it over. It's not really a slouch. I mean, it could be a slouch beanie. And then it has these two cute little leaves on it. So yeah, this is my finished project, my first ever project from her. And I've loved her books for a while because there's so much detail and they're so they look so complete. Yeah. And I do think I need to be able to think out of the box and really work a little bit better on choosing my own color palette, because this is what he's supposed to look like, the little guy, and the color pattern she used, and I did mine out of blues. I am going to try to do the hedgehog, I think, even though I'm a little bit scared because of the amount of hair she has. But I'm going to do her out of pinks because I have an excessive amount of pinks from Bella Coco. And yeah, the other thing that I really want to try is I want to try to do one of these amigurumis from her pattern just straight out of Red Heart yarn. Most of her yarn that she calls for these patterns are fingering weight yarn, which is a 1. I did DK, which is a 3. And so, of course, as you increase your yarn size, the size of the project gets a little bigger as well. And so it'll be interesting to see what one of these would look like out of, maybe not Red Heart, maybe Big Twist, or maybe I Love This Yarn from Hobby Lobby. Those two brands tend to be my favorite cheap yarn. Okay, so that was the bulk. 17 minutes on, what did we call her? Erinna Lee. I am going to make something out of here as well. These patterns that she has are so adorable. Like, look at this. I just popped by. Look at this little bee. Look how cute it is, or little ladybug, or as they call it in England, a ladybird. And then I also really love this cat with the little unicorn headband. So I will put a link in the description. I was going to put one to something earlier. Well, I'll have to rewatch the video now. But then also underneath that will be links in the description to these books. You can buy these books sometimes at Michael's. I have seen them at Michael's before. And usually they're within a couple dollars from the Amazon price. I want to say they're in the $20 to $30 range, these books. Okay, so the next thing that I was going to talk to you guys about in this video is the granny sweater pattern I've been working on. I posted a video where I talked about watching the tutorial, and I wanted to let you guys know a little specifics about it. Number one, that tutorial is only for a newborn to 3 months. So if you're interested in making larger sizes, which she has available, one, you can go to her blog, which I'll put a link in the description. Again, I should be writing notes on this, you guys, because I can't remember anything. I'll put a link in the description to her tutorial again. I'll put a link in the description to her website, which you can still get off of that tutorial, but I'll do it. And you can get those patterns from her blog, where she has a bunch of free patterns. The only thing is, if you get a little fussy, like I do, I tend to be a little fussy sometimes, and I know that's shocking. There are an immense amount of pop-ups. And, you know, I understand that's how she pays for it, so great. But if that bothers you, if you can't get over scrolling, and then sometimes if you're doing it on your phone, you accidentally bump something, she does have paid for patterns, I believe, on Ravelry and Etsy. So keep that in mind. You can go and purchase the pattern, and then you'll get all the sizes. Like I said, the tutorial is just for the newborn size. You can get her free pattern from her website, but then you can also purchase it and get all the sizes. She is an affiliate, I believe, with Mary Maxim. So she uses a Mary Maxim yarn, but she also lists on that website different yarns that you can use that are similar. Now, I have shown you guys, and I'm going to get over here and show you again. I made 2 of her sweaters already. This is in Tweed Twinkles from Knit Pals, and I ordered this yarn off of Amazon, and I can put a link in the description to that. I have a pink and purple. This I made with paint box yarn, and I bought this yarn a bunch of years ago to do a project from The Proper Pineapple, and this was a paint box DK, and so I used this to make this baby sweater. I do think this one is a little smaller. It's a little thinner of a yarn, whereas this one is closer to a worsted, although they technically both claim to be DK. But she recommends on her site, if you don't have access to Mary Maxim or want to order, you want to look in your hoard, to do a mandala cake. So I was like, hey, I have a lot of those. So in one mandala cake, you can make 2 of these sweaters. This is the first one that I made. I started at the beginning of this cake. This color is Mantra. You guys, you know I can't read on camera. Mothra. Mothra. It might not be English, so then it might not follow grammar rules. I don't know. But anyway, I did not color control this. I started on the inner. So when you're looking at a cake of yarn, the inner color is going to be the full length of the color. Whereas if you start on the outer side, you're just going to get a little, sometimes you just get a little bit of that color. So I started on the inner and let it gradually change to the darker color. Then when it came down here, it changed to the purple right at the very last end, which is, I'm like, that's not bad. But then I do have this little bit of blip here where the fuchsia came in. And then I did both the sleeves in fuchsia and I did the cuffs in the same. So I did color control a little bit just to make sure. I think one of these sleeves, it had a little bit of the purple right here at the end, and then I went down to the lighter pink. So this one I just kind of let it go. It actually came out really nice with that. I just have that weirdness at the bottom. So then, believe it or not, I still had half a cake left, so I made another one, and on this one I did color controlling. So this is the pink that I finished with the sleeves. So I started right in with that pink to do the top of the sweater. I then wanted to make sure that I had enough of the purple and the gray to make everything line up. Ooh, look at that. I got a missing end. So when I got to this kind of purple, I stopped. No, I went straight through actually, if you look at that. But then I stopped partway through and I changed to a different color purple because I wanted to have purple on the sleeves still. So that if you held it up, you see what I mean? It still looked that way. And then I did the rest of the light color purple, and then I saved the gray for the ends. Now, I have an interesting video that I'm going to show you, put in how I did the gray for the sleeves, okay? So I made a little clip. I'm going to insert that now. So I wanted to show you what I was doing to color control so that these 2 sleeves came out mostly the same. Now I probably should have showed you 2 a little sooner, but I cut my cake into little balls that were separating the colors. And then to make sure that the sleeves were coming out to be the same, I started on one end of the ball where I cut the gray on this sleeve, And then I did the other end of the ball for this sleeve. And so I would just go around, I would do a row and I would stop, and then I'd come to this side and do a row, and then I'd go back and forth. And so this is what I have left. I have just this little strand left. Luckily, I have like one row on this side and one row on that side to close it up. But that was so that I knew for sure I would have enough yarn to finish the bottom part of the sleeve on both these sweaters, because I wanted it to look kind of uniform. Now I will tell you, there's only a couple rows of purple and a couple rows of gray, and then over here there's more rows of gray. I think one more row. But I think that it still looks close to be the same, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, so now I'm in this place where I have the yarn tail coming out here, and I'm just going little bit by little bit. And that is how I color control. I cut all the mandala up into different balls of the color. Now you can obviously tell that mandala fades between the two shades, so sometimes you can sort of see the shading in between, but it's okay. I think it looks cute, and I think this is going to be my best sweater yet. This was made out of the other mandala cake, and this was the same mandala cake, but these were the bright colors. Now this one I did not color control at all. As you can see, I ended up with this little bit here, and I have this partial row here. And this one is, it's fine, but I didn't color control. I just let the colors fall how they will. This one, I wanted it to be as close to perfect as I could. All right, hope that clip helps out with color controlling, and we'll see if I have enough to weave in the ends. Yeah, so when you're color controlling, you know, you just want to make sure what you're doing is you're cutting your cakes and making sure you're using the colors where you want them. Now, I have had some people say, Summer, why don't you just go to the store and buy those colors and just use them? And I get that. I get that I could have gone to the store and bought this kind of purple, that gray, and that pink and made it the way I wanted it. But sometimes you don't find all those shades that you want at Hobby Lobby. Number two, all of these yarns are completely the same because it came off the same cake, the mandala. So for me, mandala has done the job of choosing the color palette that looks amazing together, and then I just cut and use the yarn how I want. So yes, if you are excellent at choosing your colors and your shades and color matching, then that sounds like that's a good thing for you to do. But I am not. It stresses me out, as you just heard from that last video, or that last part of the video with choosing the colors for that doll. It stresses me out. But I did want you to see that you can make 2 sweaters in the newborn size with the mandala cake. And that's the yarn that she recommended. And they're super cute, whether you color control them or whether you don't. And now I have 4 newborn baby sweaters. And I don't know a single newborn baby to put them on. Okay, my last thing that I'm going to talk to you guys about in this video is this tweed yarn. I was at Walmart the other day grocery shopping, and of course I had to walk by my one, I don't even want to say a yarn aisle at Walmart, because Walmart has really disappointed me over the years. We are down to 1 row. So the yarn is in my store, the middle section. It's now where the craft section used to be. It used to be always be in the back. Now it's kind of in the middle, and it goes all the way through the middle section. After the birthday party stuff and the cake decorating, then there's the craft. And then the last row facing the electronics is yarn. And I saw these tweeds. I was just looking through, what does Walmart have? I actually was looking for their granny square yarn that I saw Cinnamon Stitches talk about. My Walmart does not have it. But I did see this tweed. Or no, not tweed. Jumbo speckle yarn. And I like speckle yarn. I've tried to make it in the past. I suck at it because I have tried dyeing my own yarn. So I bought 2 skeins of it. This is a pinker one called Bubblegum Speckle, and then I do have a blue one that I bought, and it is light blue speckle, right? Okay, so I did do a little swatch in the different yarn so you could see what it looks like if you're interested in buying it. This is what it looks like crocheted, which is very fun and very partied, right? Look at that. And that is in the single crochet. Then I also did a little half double crochet, and then I did some double crochets, which I think all in all of it looks pretty amazing in the speckled, whether you're doing single crochet, half double, or double. So I thought that was super cute. And then I knitted with it. Knitting, I will say I have a tendency to prefer where you knit and purl. So if you're new to knitting or don't know, knitting has two basic stitches, knit stitch and a purl stitch. If you knit both sides, you're going to get, you know, you knit going one way, turn it around, knit going the back way. You get this weird liney, which I never even knew this was knitting when I've seen it before as a novice. This is where when you go one direction, you knit, and then on the back side, you purl, and that's the other type of stitch. And that gives you the traditional knitted look, what you would see in a sweater. That's what most people see for knitting. And so I just did a little section of, what's this called, garter, and knit so that you could see the differences. And I'm going to say, honestly, between all of them, I actually really like this better. But if I were to knit with it, I would want to do like a hat where I knit. So on this side of it, it's knitted, and this whole back side looks purled. Do you see that? And I like it okay, but I do think it looks a little cuter in the knit. So this yarn, if I remember, was like $5.99, $6.99, $7.99. I can't remember. I can't really remember. I tried to find my receipt. Must have thrown it away. But they did have that at my Walmart. Now, do all the Walmarts have it? I don't know. Mine doesn't have that granny square yarn, which was disappointing. So just to recap, in the description, I'll put a bunch of links to things that I've talked about. Hopefully, some of that yarn, because I know that Knit Pals, you have to get this on, I only know to get it on Amazon. You know how to get your own mandala cakes. I'll put links in the description if you wanted to buy these two books from Amazon, from Erinna. Hopefully that's how she says her name. Or Erinna. I don't know. Then I also was going to put a link in the description to the tutorial and the website where this gal does her sweaters. And then there was something in the beginning I said, and I can't remember. So hopefully that's there as well. All right, you guys, thanks for watching and subscribing. Thanks for liking and sharing my videos. And until the next video, happy crafting. Bye.